We now move from the legal system into the government itself, and what we're going to do is hit some short little additions, if you will, or I mean, we are in the appendix, you understand, and what we're going to do is just give you some short little additions, let's say. The first one we're going to talk about is drug addiction. Like everything else that's wrong with our lives, we do not try to find out what causes drug addiction in this country, because then we would have to find out just what it is, what's wrong with our society in terms of housing, jobs, bullying, prejudice, lack of money, and so many other things that are being caused by the greedy overchargers, and they don't want us to dig into it and find out. So, if everybody had enough money to live, would we have drug addiction? Probably not. If we had the drug sales people selling garbage instead of taking care of us, would we have the pain that was required, that the drugs were required for? Probably not. But they don't want to dig into those things because the overchargers are doing great. The greedy overchargers, they're doing just fine, and the pharmaceutical companies are doing just fine, and we're not doing just fine, but they don't give a damn. Instead they make more poisons, which make more money for the overchargers. The drug charges and the prison sentences make perfectly harmless people into people who can't get a job afterwards because they've become a real criminal. What kind of design is that? How does it fit in with the government's purpose? We don't do the research into the drug addiction because it's going to point right to the greedy overchargers, and they don't want that. Okay, so you say, well, it's time that we did the research to find out that the greedy overchargers are addicted to making money, just like the heroin takers are addicted to heroin, exactly the same. Same addiction, same place in the brain, same everything. We've talked about it before. And the point of the thing is that we've got laws that nail the drug user, and that should be looked at. And then we have prisons that make the people who are thrown into prison for drug use, which is not being looked into, we make them harmless people into people that can't get a job afterwards because they have a crime record. Now, of course, having a job will change when we get the system going, but you got to wonder before we get the system going what kind of a design that was. How does it fit with our government's purpose? What freedom do they have? They're in prison. They have no freedom. And they're keeping us safe from a drug user? Marijuana smoker? I mean, jeez. Common sense, common sense. How can you pay for? Now you understand that the prisons are going private so that we have the people who are involved in the private prison system demanding the judges put more people in jail so they've got work. The whole system is just wrong. The whole system is warped. They're not rehabilitating. They're making criminals out of normal people. They're making people that can't get jobs out of normal people. It's insane. And the statistics nail it down. We have way too many people incarcerated for the number of people in our country, and they know that, but they don't do anything about it. Okay, here's a statistic. They don't do anything about it. War on drugs. Give me a break. There wasn't a change. You want to do a war on drugs? Get the government that's bringing heroin from Afghanistan. Get the government, our government, people in our government. I don't want to say everybody, but people in our government using soldiers that are killed in battle, stuffing them with heroin, bringing them back on planes that don't have to be inspected by anybody, and then selling the drugs in this country. You say conspiracy theories? The heroin addiction has just about doubled since we've taken Afghanistan over. What does that tell you? It tells you the government is selling heroin. That's what it tells you. They're black ops money, money for the things that are not told to us, if you will. People's Trust News investigators investigating will find them out. Find out how they're paying for the illegal things they're doing, make them come right out in front and say, this is what we're doing. And, everything will change, but you can't do that now. But you see, that's a spider web thing. You get so many things changed, spider web wise, and all of a sudden you begin to have less heroin on the street because the government can't sell it because the People's Trust News found out that they were. Yes, see, spider web, things connected to things, and things change that change other things, and after you realize how just how far from that purpose that we had for the government has come, the next question is to ask why the war on drugs was instituted in the first place. Who benefited? And it was the people that were running the prisons that benefited the most. Who gained by all this unnecessary pain? We know that that we talk about in books 1, 2, and 3 loves the unnecessary pain, so it gained, the government gained, the people that run the prisons gained. It's like, we know that it gained and loves to feed on the pain, but is there another reason? Is there a reason why pot is condemned? Is there something that we might come to realize if it were allowed to be used in a controlled environment? Would we perhaps become a little immune to the advertisement also? Will we perhaps begin to see that there might be a purpose to this life other than the going rapidly nowhere? And that's what they keep saying. What you're doing, you need to stop and take a look and say, we're going, what they say all the time is we're going rapidly nowhere, and you take a look, what does that mean? It's a really strange concept, but here you are. You have people running around doing all these things, and they're running around doing all these things, and they say that they're all for nothing. I mean, the one that just hit me the hardest was the person that has this beautiful walls, the wallpapered walls and the beautiful little prison cell. Because what they're trying to say is, who cares if you're in prison cell? Just get the hell out. And how do you get out? You make a choice, go back to Father. Otherwise, you're going to go here, and you have to understand something, that the wannabe gods, the God wannabes, the little g wannabes, they love it here. And, you can't fault them. I mean, you can't even fault them, but it won't do any good. But you can't deny the fact that they have a right to have their place. It's what Father made, free will. So what we're trying to do is to bring down the pain and agony and the corruption and the terrible things that are happening to the point where people realize what they're here for, and they can make choices, and add places where choices can be made to determine whether you want to be go back to Father, or you want to be a God, a small g God. So now we'll go to creeping corruption, which is another part of the government. All forms of government have been a miserable failure because each government was taken over by the male-dominated pyramid-type government system, which allows for the creeping corruption to be the normal operating procedure. All socialistic forms, now all democratic forms, now they're going to go all socialistic forms of government have been a miserable failure because each government was taken over by the male-dominated pyramidal type government system which allows the creeping corruption to be the normal operating procedure. All communist forms of government have been a miserable failure because each government was taken over by the male-dominated pyramidal type government system which allows for creeping corruption to be the normal operating procedure. All capitalistic forms of government, and now you're talking about you, us. All capitalistic forms of government have been a miserable failure because each government was taken over by the male-dominated pyramidal type government system which allows for creeping corruption to be a normal operating procedure. For crying out loud. Boy, they're tough. And when they're saying that every single government operation has been a failure because of the male-dominated pyramidal type government system which allows for the creeping corruption to enter in and be the normal operating procedure. Well, okay, then we've just eliminated all of the government systems. Nope, they say no, that's not true. The matriarchal government has been successful for longer than any of the other types of government. Pre-Egypt, the matriarchal government has been successful for longer than any other type of government because they don't last. Because it was not yet taken over by the male-dominated pyramidal type government system, which allows for creeping corruption to be the normal operating procedure. A cap-it-all-istic matriarchal form of government will succeed forever if we keep the male-dominated pyramidal type government system that allows for creeping corruption to be the normal operating procedure out of the system forever. Male-dominated pyramidal type government system equals war, overcharging, dominion, slavery, poverty, dictatorship, greed, and the elimination of choices. The female government type, the type that we're talking about, the cap-it-all, $400,000 capital cap. You can make all kinds of money, just don't go over the $400,000 by overcharging. That capitalistic system run by female type government system equals protection of the home, and that's including Earth. You understand why it is that they're I mean, yeah, I can see them, all of us males saying, the damn females are, no. They'll take care of the Earth because they will take care of the home. They'll care for everybody who lives here and protect all of us as much as possible from the creeping corruption which causes all the terrible things that are happening. So what you've got is you've got a governmental system, and they're saying that it should be matriarchal and it should be cap-it-all, holistic, matriarchal form of government, and it will succeed. And what are you doing? You're keeping creeping corruption from showing up, and that's the key to the whole thing. That's what they want you to take a good look at, and that's what they want to have occur. Okay, so let's go on. What about entering the country? They say that you shouldn't stop a person from being accepted into your country. Why not? It's the government duty to give us as much freedom as possible and still keep the order and keep us safe. Where does a person wanting to join our freedom and safety enter into that government duty? And they're not saying, okay, we're going to put an end to anybody coming in the country, but they're saying, damn, take a look at it and qualify. Hate Obama because he's, I don't know what you would find in the we're in the middle of the Obama era, and we're in the middle of all the hate Obama, but one of the things he said was we need to examine the people coming in, and he doesn't have, I don't know what questions he uses to examine, but they have some. Number one, can they add to our safety? That's a requirement. Can they add to our freedom? Which are the two things that the government has to do. Are they close members of a family of persons who can do one and two? In other words, they're looking at, for instance, a female wanting to come in. Certainly is not going to add much to the lack of safety, and certainly isn't going to add much to the inability to have freedom, and in fact might add more. 4, are they persecuted in their country? No, each country, they are being persecuted in their country, and that's one of the things that we absolutely have to get them in this country, because if we don't, they'll kill them. No, see, they're saying no. Each country has its borders now with the change that we're supposed to be getting. So we're saying this is the thing that we're looking at after the change. What they do before then is trying to get to the change, if you will. So you look at it and say, each country has its borders locked and no weapon of any kind is allowed to enter the country. So you're talking about machetes at the best, and like what they said is, look, if you have 1,000 people in a city and you have 10 people that are driving around a truck with machetes because they have no weapons, you understand, then you mean to tell me that those people can't take the people with the machetes out? Yeah, they can if they choose to. Well, they don't choose to. That's not your business. That's not our business. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in Book 4, then we stay out of it. That means that there's enough unofficial people, not police or army, in the country to stop the group from doing anything they're in their country that they don't want done if they want to stop them. They can stop crime, war, famine, births if they want to. Births, Is that important? Yeah, you bet. If the country's overflowing and they're starving and it's their fault for having too many children, then you have to let them do that. You have to let them. The only way you can have choices in karma is if you have places to go that are different. You've got to let countries be different. Leave them alone. Let them do what they want to do. But you here in the United States, you can change things. And guess what? When people take a look at what you're doing here and things change and things get better, they're going to do the same thing in their country because they realize they can't come into this country. The country is kind of not locked, but at least will pick and choose who comes into the country. That isn't the common man. So basically what you're dealing with is you're dealing with people that are not going to be able to come into this country and making decisions for their own country. So if they can stop crime, war, famine, births, and all those things if they want to, then understanding that we're here to make those two choices. Each country has to make those choices so that a person can be born into that condition if that's the experience they need to deal with the karma. And you can understand that if you read everything. The do-gooder mentality is almost always wrong, and in this case, it's wrong. We got to help them. No, we don't got to help them. No, we don't have to do anything. They have to help themselves. They have to choose, and they have to decide. They have to, make their own rules. Perhaps these books will be available to them, and then perhaps they can go ahead and do the biggest thing that Bonner has looked at here is the possibility that some other country besides the United States will grab this and go. You want to talk about frustration? Some other country becomes successful, and it's like Iceland, what they're doing right now. Kick the banks out of Iceland, and everything has changed. So, yeah, okay, we go to number 5. The do-gooder mentality is always wrong. They have told you that we have to save those people from the bad people in the country. But as we said, they can stop those bad people if they want to. You have been told what you've been told all the time is almost always wrong. What you've been told, basically you run around and take a look at what we're saying, and then you say, yeah, but we've been told. And what they're saying is, when you finish the sentence, you're almost always wrong. Each country has to choose the way how they want to live. And if there are no weapons allowed into the country, then there are enough people to stop anyone. However, if they want to have an evil dictator run their country, and they have to have the right to live with the consequences of that choice. If the evil dictator says go ahead and have all the children you want, they have to live with that choice. So, they can't come running to this country. We didn't stop the machete wielders, and we didn't stop having babies, so now we can't eat and we're starving. Help us. No, you have to make a decision to, take care of your own country. Number 6. So we're suggesting that if you want to move to another country because you can't stay in the country conditions that you're in, and the whole point of the thing is do not bring any of your country's conditions into the new country. We've said that over and over and over and over and over and over. Speak their language of the country you're trying to get into. Dress the way they do. Act like they do. Have the same morality that they do. Work and play as they do. Quit trying to be somebody different quit trying to be quit trying to be a Chinese person in America. Be an American. You've left your Chinese country because you didn't like it, or assuming that that's why you left. Don't try to change the new country to be the way yours is. Change and go with the new country, the new laws, the new dress, the new way of living. If you don't like it, go back to your old country. 7. The laws in the new country should reflect that concept, and what they always say all the time is, make the law to reflect the concept that you're talking about, because then nobody's going to feel guilty about saying don't come into our country if you don't like us. Make it a law so that, okay, we're okay, it's a law, and everybody's agreed to it, so don't give me a hard time about not wanting somebody from whatever country to come into this country and live the way they lived in their country. Don't get down on me for saying they can't do that. The law says that they have to do things the way we do them. And you see the guilt gone, and anybody pointing a finger at them is gone. That's why they came. So number 7 is that laws in the new country should reflect that concept. They say that all the time. Make a law that reflects that concept so that it's a law. In other words, people have agreed to it. To eliminate the why are we suggesting this? Number 8. Why are they suggesting it? It eliminates the groups of people from another country coming to your country and grouping together until they have a tight little community that supports them, and will exclude those who were living there before. In other words, have them move out. Not let them become part of their society. Just get to the point where you move out because it's too dangerous to live in there. That's what they're talking about. To the point that people become a threat if you're not one of their group. And they said, put an end to that. Why are we suggesting it? We eliminate that. Why do we eliminate that? Because you can't tell them. They shave, if you have to, and they wear the clothes that we wear. How do you do, ma'am? How do you do, sir? You understand what we're saying? They become us. And if they don't like it, go back home. Go back to their country. Nobody wants to talk about the problem for fear that somebody will call you prejudiced or at least politically incorrect. You know what we said about it, politically incorrect. We're talking about it. We are talking about it. And all those do-gooders are totally wrong. That's number 8. Number 9, if you do not like this country you're in and want to move, don't bring your country you're leaving with you. It makes no sense. Then it is also not acceptable to try to change a country's government by moving into that country and trying to trying to force a change. In plain words, they said, this is what we're saying and you're not allowed to do it. But in plain words, what are we saying? We're saying they're wrong. That's wrong. Get out. Go back to where you came from. We have no need for those kind of situations, and make it a law so that The people will, you can point to the law and say, it's a law, leave me alone, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. That's the thing that they should be looking at. It isn't what they look at now, but that's what they should be looking at. And so they say, that's what you need to do. So another little thing, fix the problem is the title of it. Okay, let's start with the fact that we do not know what we want. Why? Because advertising works. That's what we've told you over and over again. So if we had enough money and we could advertise to you on television, and you would come to believe, you would ultimately come to believe what it was that we were advertising, no matter the proof to the contrary. What they're pointing out here is fixing the problem, and one of the problems is advertising. If you have enough money and you can go to the advertising companies, you can get the 90% of the Americans to believe anything. And thus you do not know what you want or how to get it. So let's get to the point. We the people have the money and we can choose how to spend it. We also have the numbers, and therefore we have all the power. They can tell us otherwise, but I'm sorry, we have all the power. Now, you don't believe that, but it's true. If we have all the power, then why are we in this mess? Advertising. We have lost the ability to lead. We have lost the ability to think. We have lost the ability to reason. And we don't know what we want. They, who are they? Who benefits from what you see happening right now? We all know the top 1% are doing fantastically well. The rest of us? What do you mean? What does that mean? It means that the top 1% can buy the advertising and make us do what they want. That is what it means. But we have all the power. Isn't that what we just said? Yes, we have all the power. If we can break the advertising chain, yes, we have all the power. Now they begin to say, now you see what's coming? How do we break the chain? As was suggested in Book 5, the females of this country need to cross their legs until the $1 People's Trust News card is found in every grocery store, and they can buy it and begin to pay for People's Trust News, People's Trust Government, People's Trust everything. When it becomes a reality, the news will begin to inform you, and you will become an informed public, and you will solve every problem with ease, especially the economic one. That has been an understanding of every person who gave the problem of our country any major thought at all, and everything came to the same conclusion, what we said before. Everybody who sits down and really ponders it and thinks about it says you've got to have an informed public. Why? Because the informed public will solve the problems. That will leave us with a suggestion for the actual process of change that we are recommending. Those of you who do not need to know the details should go on to the next subject. So now they're going to talk about it, and they're just saying go on to the next subject if you don't want to go through this. Find out what they're talking about here. From the North Carolina Public Radio, WUNC, they said that number, if we talk about it out of context, is questionable. Keith Jennings, Iraq combat veteran and clinical psychologist, says he acts as chief scientist advisor to the North Carolina-based group called Stop Soldier Suicide Organization, or Stop Soldier Suicide, and they're talking about soldier suicide. How do we get there? We're talking about little things that are, things that we have to deal with, and because we're in the appendix, we're not in the standard. I'll go down through this step by step, and no, we're just grabbing things as they come along, and we're talking about them. It takes so long to put together a good idea on suicidal research because we need the time to find out if whatever it is that we're doing works. It's we have the data sometimes, but we have to put it together to see if it has any meaning. What gets lost in the conversion is the majority. Actually, you can say the vast majority do okay, Jennings says. the vast majority of our veterans do okay. So this Smolowski and his team in the study released this year dig deeper, and they found that the vets who have served during the Afghanistan and Iraqi wars commit suicide at the rate of about 1 a day, not 22 a day. Something he says that people should remember when they meet young combat veterans, or when they hear the number 22, which was, the 22 military Afghanistani or military people are committing suicide. Well, there's a lot of them committing suicide. Well, what they're doing is they're saying, the people that are told that are saying, well, look at here, actually, it isn't the number 22, it's only 1 a day. It's like, so we don't have to worry about it. It's only one soldier who comes back from war that commits suicide a day. That's 360 soldiers a year. Hello, if you think it isn't still important, you should be a soldier. Well, I guess the other 21 suicides by our veterans do not count then by government statisticians, and we know the government statisticians only do what they want to with the money that they only want to spend. So what they're saying is that it might be 22 veterans a day instead of one. And that is a rather disturbing piece of information, and not one that we're surprised about when we shifted over and started talking about suicides. Look at the suicides of just the people. It's way up too. And why do you think that is? What about the children? What about the school-age children? Well, we recommend the first step is to start taking care of our military personnel in every area, and do not stop until the problem is really fixed. The women who have their legs crossed must see the social media and phone calls to the congressmen and women until it is realized the seriousness and the thing they have to do because of the People's Trust News card that they pay $1 for in the grocery store. All of a sudden, the People's Trust News is giving them that information that's true, not some bullshit government statistic that's a lie. And it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. How do you know? $1 a week, grocery store. That's how you know. And once you know, then all of a sudden that bullshit that they feed you changes, and now they know, and now we got to do something, and they do something, and the it that we've talked about in books 1, 2, and 3 doesn't get fed as much, and he's upset, and wah. That's the whole object of what the multi-billionaires want to put an end to all this. You do know that. We could give the retired. We can take care of the military. That's the first step, and that was the first step they went for. And the second step was to give a $10 raise a month to the retired. And everybody's saying, what in the world do you do that for? You know that the multi-billionaires want to put an end to all Social Security so they can have more money, and they don't give a damn about what happens to your mother or your father. They want more money, period. Let your congressman, man and woman know that you are serious, because now you have the power, and the power is the knowledge of what's going on. Another simple move is to stop buying from, this is the one I love, BP. Ever hear them? British Petroleum. Tremendous leak in the Gulf of Mexico. They're not telling you, but it destroyed the Gulf, destroyed the ecology of the Gulf. They're not telling you that. You talk to anybody who made a living with the fish or the crabs or the oysters or anything, and they'll all tell you, nope, gone, destroyed. BP did it. They were the ones that destroyed the Gulf, Savannah, and Florida, in case you didn't know. And what they're saying is, go stop buying from BP. Go to all the other gas stations, but not BP. Do you realize that it'll take a month or so for you to begin to realize the power you have? Let's get more technical. and why did they say that? Because BP, within a month, it's going to go bankrupt. Oh no, what they're going to do is they're going to take the gas that you aren't buying and sell it to Shell. Well, People's Trust News found out they're selling to Shell and nobody goes to Shell. Well, now they want to, sell it to another gas company, and the other gas company says, no, you're not going to shut me down. I'm not buying from you. And all of a sudden they go bankrupt. BP bankrupt. Bang, within a month. Well, what happened? What was the end result? The end result is the corporation took one look at that and said, oh man, we're screwed. The people have begun to realize that they have the power. What is the power? To buy. That's all they want. They shut you right down. You got too many expenses as a corporation to be shut down for a month. So, okay, we're going to fine you for the Gulf Oil Tabasco, the Gulf Oil crisis that you created, and we'll fine you $1 billion. And BP says, no problem. We'll pay the fine. It's a lot better than being shut down. So, call a constitutional convention state by state. You must demand this until it's accomplished. In the Constitution, put only 3 things. First is the federal government will pay out all monies used in the election process with no money from any other source. If the federal government doesn't pay for it and it is part of the electoral process, it is illegal. Hear what they said? Government pays for all of it. The television channels that will give you the people that are running for any kind of government to have a place to speak, we give them the television channels, and they use them with the understanding that part of the use will include public service announcements or public service time. That has become a joke because they just don't do it anymore, but we can bring it back to the original intent. Every television station will broadcast the election process debate free of charge. And at this time they are, and at the time that they're happening, or as soon as possible, if that's possible, they do it at the same time. Of course, any government announcement will also be free of charge, as was intended. So what are they saying? They're saying that no money will be put into the politics from anywhere but the federal government, and the government has free television time. When the time comes for the President of the United States to run for government president office, they'll be able to have a seminar or whatever they have free of charge because it's a public service. That's the way it should have been. Number 3. Second, put in the Constitution a new level of government called public trust. This will include any government employee who has a position of power that is given to him or her by us in the trust that they will perform their duty in the manner that is proper. These public trust government employees will be watched and held accountable for their actions. And you've seen what we were doing before, but put it in the Constitution. There's a public trust office, and you have to follow the public trust laws, and they're different. Anyone who violates a trust and is convicted of doing so will get a mandatory federal prison sentence with absolutely no time off. That will truly reflect the level of the harm that he or she is causing. So ends bribes, which is the first thing you're going to look at. Is there any kind of bribery at all? If there is, you'll go to prison. And all manner of problems with one quick swipe. Number 5. And thirdly, put in the Constitution a new branch of government, the investigative branch. Their branch will be there to investigate anything we need investigated, thereby putting the fear into anyone who's doing anything illegally. And that's government people, probably. Government branch that's called the investigative branch, investigating basically bribery or the use of money for the election process other than from the government. They put the fear into anybody doing that illegally because it's being investigated by a new branch of government. Put in the Constitution. Then the Supreme Court has no choice but to say it's okay because it's in the Constitution. That includes elected officials, drug companies, lawyers, doctors, and so on and so forth. Anybody who has the power to affect you greatly is going to be investigated. Anybody who is in the government is going to fall under the public trust laws, and they'll be investigated very carefully because we don't want creeping corruption. That includes, you said, the idea is that we never get to the truth because we let the truth be presented by those who have a vested interest not to give us the truth. If you have a constitutional new branch of government that investigates, who in the world is going to mess with them? Who's going to, the People's Trust News is going to make sure they don't get bribed. They're going to make sure that no congressperson or senate person or a judge or the president of the United States is taking bribes. They're taking money for political activities. That's going to come to an end. The idea is that we never get the truth because we let the truth be presented to us by those who have a vested interest not to give us the truth. And yet we pay for it. And the People's Trust reporters, investigators can work hand in hand with this branch of government since they're both doing the same thing. However, the reporters, investigators for the People's Trust News will be in charge of an investigation, investigating even that group. So they have a priority in the investigation. So even the Constitutional Convention branch of government that is the investigator branch will be investigated by the People's Trust people, and they have a priority. They have the ability to find out whatever they want to find out as a higher priority than anybody else, because that's what we laid out. And if you have to have that in the Constitution, go for it. So how does it work? Number 6. How does it work? We'll have the first group investigating a second group, which is investigating the first group, and the third group totally hidden and investigating the first group. And how does it work? We'll have the first group investigating, a second group investigating the first group, and a third group totally hidden investigating the first group and the second group. That's in the People's Trust News. This is the most critical branch of government and must be protected at all costs, and that's why we have 3 groups. Now, you can say that you got the first group and that they're investigated by the second group, but then they're investigated by a totally private, totally hidden third group. And so everybody's afraid of doing anything except what they're supposed to do, and that's good. Number 6, at this point you have saved out of your own pocket at least 25% of what it costs now to do what we do not want done. That's a lot of money, just to go back. Think about it. That's a lot of money you just got back. Think about it. At this point, you just, out of your own pocket with those 3 to 4 things, you saved at least 25% out of your pocket of what it costs you. You realize that these overchargers that are bribing the government with this thousands and millions of dollars, that's all your money. Now, they charge you more for the products than you would have to pay if they didn't get that money and use it to tell your politicians what they wanted them to do that is not in your best interest, and you pay for it. What the heck are we talking about? And so they're saying, look, if you just do those 3, 4 things, 25% of what it costs you now will be gone, and you'll finally get what it is that you want done. Number 7. The problem is that you do not think you have the power to do this because of advertising. You cannot get together to demand those things be put in the Constitution. You think you can? Well, you will, and you'll be able to be killing your brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and cousins and other relatives while your true enemy is sitting at a breakfast table smiling at the stupid common cannon fodder. You will be advertising to killing police, you, the military, you, the government officials, you, and anyone else the advertisers want killed. You, and you. You understand what they're saying? They're saying you got to get past the who is it It is, and they said before, it is not the military. It is not government officials. It's not the police. It's not anybody else. It's them. It's those stupid overchargers behind their guarded fences, drinking their tea and laughing because there's coming a civil war. Say it all the time. Something you need to take a good look at. Number 8. Understand that the vote for your elected official, that you vote for your elected official, and no one can pay for that advertising or anything that helps in the process to get them elected. Once elected, they're watched. There'll be no bribery of any kind because they're watched. So they have to do what you want or not get elected again, or booted out of the office, or sent to prison. And while in the office, they cannot help anyone but we the people for fear of the federal prison term. Go back to what you're doing and let the government and the people that are in charge take care of the rest. That's what they're always trying to tell you. Go back to your coffee. Go back to your television. Once you see these things and how easy it is to get them taken care of and hire the people and pay the people to do the examination and enforcing the laws, then you can go back to your television set. You go back to making decisions. You go back to your ball games. It isn't a full-time job. Number 9. If the process is stopped by whoever, an investigation paid for by the $1 purchase of the ticket for the People's Trust News card will be used to find out who's stopping the process. And they're in brackets, not the entertainment nightly news media, not the politicians or the supposed government legal officers, police or any other supposed expert is going to do the investigating. It's going to be the People's Trust News. Or in other words, to find out who your real enemy is. And when you find out who your real enemy is, one of them will be that whoever it is that's stopping us from moving to these 3 to 4 things in the Constitution. Who's out there trying to stop it? Okay, that guy is one of your enemies. A legal process can be brought against them, and if needed, a legal bounty can be placed on their heads. We've talked about that. You know them, but they cannot possibly know who you are, and they sure don't know who the bounty hunters are, so they'll be terrified. You're finally doing the things that work. One of the things that you have to take a good look at is the things that we're talking about here work. Not things that, this would be convenient and it would still be nice and the do-gooders are okay with it. No, we don't care. What we want is something that works. Those who are your enemy will try to take over the convention and add or subtract the things that are offered here, so do not let them in big red letters. Don't let them. You want 3 things, watch the wording. Greedy overchargers will try to stop you. Don't let them. Watch the wording, watch the things that you're trying to have created and make sure that you get what it is that you want. Now we'll go on from there.